Please take your seats quickly, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tennis Weekly with Joel, Kim and Chris. On today's Tour Catch-Up, brought to you by the UTS Grand Final.
Novak Djokovic seals the year-end No.1 ranking.
Canada triumph at the Billie Jean King Cup.
And we speak to Patrick Mouratoglou ahead of the UTS Grand Final in London.
Kim, Chris, today is the 14th of November and we are here to catch up on the week in tennis at Tennis Weekly HQ. The ATP Tour Finals are underway in Turin. Canada are your Billie Jean King Cup champions, and Jack Draper has reached his first ever ATP Tour Final. Very, very exciting. The end of the season is nearly in sight, which I guess means the next season is also on the horizon as well. We've got Davis Cup Finals in Malaga coming next week. We've got the Next Gen Finals as well. We're excited because we're actually going out to Malaga as a little bit of a holiday, little bit of let's watch GB and see how they do in the final 8. But guys, it's been very exciting because on top of all of that to come, we've had a little bit of a special guest, haven't we, arrive at Tennis Weekly HQ over the last week.
Are you referring to your moustache, Joel, or an actual guest?
Kim, that's exactly
like
who
was
referring to.
Joel 2.0.
It's so pronounced that it does deserve its own identity, I feel.
Yeah, Joel, if any listeners, Joel seems to be doing some sort of Movember challenge. Although you've shaved your beard, you've just left your moustache. So
I'm going through facial hair crisis, Kim. I first had a goatee. Now I've just got mustache. What's next?
What is the game plan? Maybe this is teeing up for the perfect Britta Broad costume. Maybe that's what we're going for. Just looking truly crazy in Malaga next week.
Well, I'm glad you didn't quite have this facial hair for our guest, who you did speak with last week. How was that, Joel? Do you want to reveal some details?
Yes. I mean, we had on the show super coach and mastermind behind the UTS concept Ultimate Tennis Showdown. We had Patrick Mouratoglou onto the show, which was fascinating. We got a 12-minute interview with him. He was very, very nice. He was very, very charming. And we're going to actually have that interview in our second half. And it's definitely not one to miss. And we also have a competition running from Tennis Weekly to go to UTS Grand Final in London at the XL Arena. So yeah, it's very, very exciting. You've got your own chance to be there for the final. Some great players playing already. Jack Draper's going to be there. Casper Ruud's going to be there. Gael Monfils is going to be there. So yeah, definitely stay tuned for the second half.
We're basically following Jack Draper around now. We're following him to Malaga, then we're following him to UTS. I feel like by the end of this, hopefully, he'll know who Tennis Weekly are.
He'll be sick of the sight of us, but
probably.
Yeah, Joel, fantastic interview last week, and listeners, look forward to listening to that one later. I think you shared a fashion sense with him.
Yes.
Commenting on your jumper, was
yes,
that right?
I wore I was like, oh, well, what do you wear for Patrick? I don't know. So I put on my Castor blue jumper. I made sure, obviously, to have Tennis Weekly merch in the background. But yeah, he complimented me on my jumper and he said, I have one of those as well. So I feel like I've already got I've got some good style, even if my mustache perhaps says a little bit differently.
So that's both of you have had compliments from the tennis world.
It's just
on your
you, Kim. I'm really sorry about that. Yeah, hopefully someone in Malaga says they like your summer dress or something.
My summer dress.
Well, on the subject of fashion, Joel, fashion is a hot topic. We're now a fashion podcast because at the ATP Finals, I'm not sure if you guys saw this, but Stefanos Tsitsipas debuted a €4,000 poncho for his outfit of choice. And I just think, we were talking about this the other week, we need to follow the Tsitsipas's around because this is gold. He looked like he was a
tennis Jesus. He looked like tennis. He was walking the streets of Turin as some sort of disciple, I feel.
It did feel like that. And I did find out where you can buy this, Joel. So maybe this would go really nicely with your moustache. It's from a brand called Lorno Piana. So if you would like to purchase that for €3,800, so you can get that Jesus look, all you have to do, Joel, is just kind of grow out the hair and you've got the full outfit down. Again, we could debut this in Malaga.
It's what the Tennis Weekly crowdfund, was made for, obviously.
Exactly. I mean, that's a really good use of listener funds. But if you've seen the picture, I mean, everyone else went quite safe. We saw bomber jackets, a couple of grandad collars, maybe at the most exciting, and then boom, there you had him in his poncho. So personally, I quite
liked it. I actually thought it added
good.
like gravitas and
it's
made a big deal of the event. He almost looks the most celebrity of them.
He does, but I have to say, well, Carlos is in red. Does that mean he's going to win? That was my question.
Well, it doesn't look that good so far, does it?
It doesn't look good so far. Maybe not undefeated, but maybe he'll edge his way through.
I do think Tsitsipas with the poncho is at one end of the scale, and then right next to him, Holger Rune, he's just turned up in white trainers, jeans, and a black top. It's on the complete other end of the fashion spectrum, I feel.
Yeah,
we've seen it all, haven't we? In these ATP and WTA finals. Yes, it is.
Yeah,
I think he just got off his flight. Maybe it just looks like he didn't get the memo. There was a dress code for WTA. There clearly was not for ATP.
I think Yannick Sinner looks quite smart. I think him and Tsitsipas have dressed the most appropriately for the venue. You look at the backdrop; it's very ornate, and I think those two have brought the most style. Not sure bomber jackets really go with that surroundings, but. Perhaps Djokovic and Alcaraz got a memo that no one else did.
Wait, I think I've got it. Is it the red and blue group? Is that what was going on there?
Oh,
it might be actually, yeah.
But then what group is Tsitsipas in? He's in the poncho group.
Well, yeah, exactly. Is he in the poncho group? Are they all in their own groups? But yeah, it must be something to do with the group colours, I feel.
There we go.
Or maybe we're just reading way too much into it, but
maybe we should move on.
The analysis continues.
Yes, I mean we will be getting onto that in a bit. I just wanted to throw in something completely unrelated to Turin and the ATP Finals, but personal highlight of the week was that Sabine Lisicki has won a tournament again, a professional tournament out in Calgary. She won the W60 final, so yeah, it's ITF, not WTA, of course. But she has finally won a title again of any sort on the professional circuit after 9 years, which is a long time coming and really nice to see. And she's just had knee reconstruction surgery and obviously immediately got this win, beating Stacey Fung in 3 sets to get the title. So, I mean, this is probably just the very, very start of hopefully something bigger, but we'll be keenly watching her to see if she can make any inroads back up onto the WTA circuit after this one.
She really deserves it, doesn't she? She's had such a tough time, and I think she was messaging with Del Potro about some of the knee issues that they both had, and it's just really kind of brought an end to both of their careers. So seeing her pick herself up and get back out there, I think it just shows how much she loves the sport, and she is super loved by everyone who gets to see her. So let's hope that we get to see more of her next year, and this is just the beginning of something, as you say, Kim.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been quite understandable if she just completely retired with all the injury problems. So the fact that she's still going is just testament to the fact that she's such a great fighter and personality. And yeah, let's see where she ends up. But I thought it was a really nice note that she's kind of, I guess, ticked that box before the end of the year. And yeah, talking of the end of the year, obviously loads going on, as Joel alluded to. We've got quite a lot to cover today. Obviously Turin is underway. We aren't just talking about what they're wearing. There are some results on court to talk about. Alcaraz has lost his first match. So that bomber jacket, wearing the red, hasn't put him off to a good start so far. He lost in 3 sets to Sasha Zverev, and then has kind of come out saying the courts are playing really, really fast. We've never, played in conditions like these during the whole year. Is he making an excuse with talking about the court, do you think, for the fact that he lost his opener?
It's quite unlike Carlos to complain about things, would be my take. I think if you look at some of the numbers, the serves are almost unreturnable. So maybe there is something about the bounce and the fact that it is going quickly, because Zverev hit 16 aces and Carlos hit 10, which is pretty unusual for them both to hit those sort of numbers. Both won a lot of points behind their serve. Zverev won 73% of first serve and 80% of second serve, which kind of implies that second serve was kind of picking itself up and kind of bouncing very kind of quickly, rushing Carlos. So I think the numbers do imply that that maybe it was quick, but it's the same court for everybody. So it will suit some players. The end of season championships, we know with Rafa, I mean, they never really suited him, the surface. So you can't have it all, I would say. And he's still got a chance to go through, so maybe I'd focus my attention there.
It's interesting he said we never play in conditions like these during the entire year. That just makes you think there should be more fast indoor hard courts on the tour. I feel like we actually have too many slow hard courts, and it's not to everyone's liking. I feel it certainly is to Sasha Zverev's liking, but Carlos Alcaraz having a tough time. But it does seem that the court is lightning quick this year. I mean, he didn't play it last year, so he's not really had any experience of Turin as well. So I think that perhaps is a factor. But yeah, we've had some really decent matches so far. I mean, I watched a little bit of Novak Djokovic, Holger Rune. Their rivalry, it just always goes to 3 sets. I feel like it always delivers. It was a real tough tussle, I think, for Djokovic as his first match. And Rune, like before and like Paris, he wasn't really that far away.
I thought it was incredible. I was watching that and I just thought one of the best matches I've seen this year. And I think, if anything, maybe the speed of the court made that match a bit more electric, because I think it's great seeing, Holger, he has qualified and he isn't kind of doing the classic, Joel, borrow your phrase, and making up the numbers. He really brought it to Novak Djokovic, and he could have edged that. That could have gone either way. The fact that was a 3-hour match also makes me think that the court can't be like unbelievably quick, because 3 hours is a pretty long match. So I would say it's hard to gauge, but I mean, Holger, you have to think this Boris partnership.
Yeah, I was going to say, is this the Boris effect?
Well.
Is this the Boris effect? Because he kept looking at his box towards the end, and there was that real sense of belief right until the end. And he seems very, very motivated. He seems, it seems to be going well, and it doesn't feel like he's far away, and it doesn't seem like those physical niggly issues that we've seen surface in his game on court, particularly in the last couple of months, are there either.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly caused Djokovic some problems. Did you see the 2 racket smashes from Djokovic? That was pretty epic.
Don't see those too often. I mean, when we do see them, we know he's got a bit riled, so if anyone can do that to Djokovic, then that's helpful to their cause. I mean, in the other matches, they were more straightforward, weren't they? Sinner defeating Tsitsipas in straight sets, and Medvedev dispatching Rublev in straights. So, kind of a mixture at the moment of the tennis we've seen so far in Turin. Djokovic has incidentally secured the year-end #1 yet again, an 8th time, which is a record. So another record broken, or extending his own record, I should say, is Djokovic there. So, yeah, we look forward to the rest of the week out in Turin, and we'll be updating everyone on our catch up next week, and we'll see who's going home with that title. But in other news, we've had the Billie Jean King Cup finals in Seville last week, which have they've now finished, and Canada have won their very first Billie Jean King Cup title.
Did you predict that, Kim? I can't remember. I can't remember from all the times you've said on our WhatsApp group.
I can't remember either. You have to remind us, Kim.
Yes, I think I did. I think you asked me to plump for one country, and I kind of went, I think Canada could do well last week. So I'm quite chuffed about that. Leylah Fernandez, I think, stealing the show, playing amazing tennis this week to get some solid wins, especially in that semi-final over Czech Republic. But also a kind of new star in the final, Stakusic, sort of upsetting Trevisan to get a very sort of topsy-turvy rankings win to get a vital rubber in the final. So Canada beating Italy in the final, 2 rubbers to 0. They didn't bother playing the doubles, of course. But yeah, Joel, what did you make of Canada's week at the Billie Jean King Cup finals?
I mean, Canada are in rude health, I feel, at the moment in team competitions, because they are now both the reigning Davis Cup and Billie Jean King Cup champions, come what may next week in Malaga. So it just shows their pedigree in this format across the men's and women's events. And this week they played such good tennis, and I think you look at players like Leylah Fernandez and Stakusic as well. They just upped their levels, I feel. I think Fernandez has had a strong end to the season. But I think you put her in this environment when she's playing for her country against some really big names. I feel like she always has almost like a point to prove. And we've seen her perform on the biggest stages, getting to a Grand Slam final when she was defeated by, Raducanu, all those 3-set victories. And I genuinely feel like it's an environment that she thrives in, and I think she would do well to kind of try and take this, mindset that she has in these team competitions and take them to the tour, because I still feel like she's been a little bit out in the wilderness, this season. But hopefully, this can help her kick on and start the new season with this momentum and see where it takes her. And
I saw in the Canada team, Eugenie Bouchard, the pickleball player, made an
I was
appearance.
confused about that because early in the season she had announced herself as I'm joining the pickleball tour or whatever it is in the States, and then she's still a tennis player. She's still playing doubles with Gabby Dabrowski, and they pulled out some pretty decent victories. And I was thinking with Bouchard, I genuinely thought, maybe even she thought herself that she would have been making up the numbers in this team, but she came out with some pretty decent victories in partnership with Dabrowski.
Dabrowski's a good partner to have, though, this season. That's for sure. Winning the US Open, WTA Finals.
She's had a great season, hasn't she, Gabby Dabrowski? And, her first women's doubles Grand Slam this year. Obviously winning 3 doubles matches en route to this title and also getting to the end of season finals. So fantastic, and it's nice that Bouchard's come back, clinched a team title. That's probably quite a bonus for her. Got a jacket. And Rebecca Marino also part of the squad as well. But Fernandez, I think, she's really stepped up this week and shown us what she can do. And Stakusic as well. For her, she's not played on the WTA tour this year. She's ranked 258 in the world. And she upset Martina Trevisan, who's I think 50 odd in the world. So that's fantastic for her. She said it was the best week of her life, and I'm not surprised. I would imagine it would be in terms of her professional life.
Fernandez showed, I think, what she can do on a singles court and a doubles court. As you said, Kim, in that semi-final, I think she defeated Vondrousova in the singles and then went onto the doubles court against Krejcikova and Siniakova and got the job done. Interestingly, though, Krejcikova and Siniakova after this, the doubles fallout, the exodus of partnerships continues, because it sounds like from Czech press that Krejcikova and Siniakova aren't going to play tennis together on tour next season. So, Chris, they join a list of other pairs as well. We've spoken about Kulhoff, Skupski, Hunter, Mertens, potentially Townsend, Fernandez. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But what is it with these big time partnerships, slam winning quality partnerships, all going to dust at the moment?
Yeah, the only one I can kind of understand is Hunter and Mertens, because Mertens has that phenomenal record of reaching the WTA Finals 5 years in a row with 5 different
She's
partners.
a gun for hire. She just wants a different partner each season.
She wants to keep it going, so she wants a factory reset every season. And I think probably Hunter, who finished the year at number 1, it's quite an odd one to not end up playing with your partner after that. But they didn't win a major, and I think that could be a reason there. Rumours are that Townsend might be playing with Haddad Maia in the doubles. They're very good friends. That could be possible. But for Krejcikova and Siniakova, you feel like they've had so much success that it might be at the point now where if they aren't getting the results that they want, they can focus on the singles, because they've both been putting together some solid singles years. But at the same time, maybe a year focusing on the singles wouldn't be a bad thing. But Krejcikova loves tennis, so I probably think she's going to be looking for another partner. So it'll be interesting to see who she plays with next year.
The noises coming out of Czech press are that Siniakova was the one who instigated the conversation and was like, I think we should take some time off. There is still hope that they play with each other for for the Olympics next year. But are you surprised that it sounded like Siniakova instigated it rather than Krejcikova?
A little bit, but I do think that focusing on the singles for Siniakova does make sense, because she's always been around number 40 but never really pushed further than that. And we've seen her upset Naomi Osaka at the French Open. We've seen her get these big wins. She can do a lot of damage on the singles court, so maybe she's just looking to see what she can do. if she dedicates herself to singles. But I mean, they're still great friends, and we hope to see them partner up at the Olympics. And maybe we'll see some more teams like Hunter, and maybe Ellen Perez might team up. We might see maybe a Garcia Mladenovic. They were playing together again this week. So it is always fun when it's an Olympic cycle, but it does mean people do tend to get binned off for someone from their own country.
Yeah, they chop and change quite a bit, don't they? I'm quite sad about Koolhof and Skupski.
I can't understand
they're a
it.
great team.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, let's see what happens. But yeah, Canada, Billie Jean King Cup champions. Well done to them. And we'll have to see if they can reclaim their Davis Cup title. But they should just enjoy holding both titles for the next week or so until that happens. We also did have some regular ATP Tour events happening as well, which very much was the battle of the French number ones, because we had Adrian Mannarino out in Sofia, clinching the title. And we also had Ugo Humbert in Metz, clinching the title. So great week for French players on the tour. Let's start in Sofia. Adrian Mannarino coming through in 3 sets over Jack Draper in the final. I mean, it's great that Jack Draper got there. It's great that he's got to the final. He had just won a challenger event the week before, so he was kind of looking to extend his winning run. But yeah, Mannarino, very experienced, getting the job done 6-3 in the third set. I mean, he's been having a great season as well. This is his third title of the year. And for a player of his age, 35, he's really demonstrating his experience with that win over Draper there.
Yeah, I mean, Mannarino has been so impressive this season. To think what he's doing as a 35-year-old on the tour, that is not easy. And going into this final, I think Jack Draper and a lot of GB fans thought that this was his moment. It's bubbling up nicely with the Davis Cup Finals to come in Malaga. But Mannarino, he's just such an awkward player to face on the tennis court, and it just shows, with all the experience that he has, he really is, I think, peaking at a time when a lot of other players seem to find it hard to get back up to the very top. I mean, he's just outside, I think, the top 20, which, again, it's just incredible given his age.
Yeah, he'll finish the year at 22, and we can update you now on the battle for the French number one. Officially, it came down to both finals. If one player won the final and the other one lost, they'd be the number one. But they both won, which meant that Humbert finished at number one at 20 in the rankings, and there was just 10 points between them. So, I mean, that is remarkable. And sandwiched between the two of them was Francisco Cerundolo, who was just 5 points either side. So it couldn't have been tighter in that sense. But you have to think, I mean, he's only a few points behind, Cam Norrie. And it just shows how lucky we were, to edge France in that tie, because if they played Mannarino in the singles, it could have been a different story. So I think that is a testament to just how well they're doing, despite not having all that much form at different times during the year.
Yeah, and Ugo Humbert winning in Metz, he beat Alexander Shevchenko 6-3, 6-3. To get a title. Obviously, it's his home country. He's clinched that year-end French number one. But despite that, this is his first title on the tour in about 2 years. So it's been a long time that he's actually been in the winner's circle. And when it comes to finals, he hasn't lost one yet. So very impressive from Humbert. And I feel like he has been a bit in the wilderness the last couple of years, but getting back up to 20 in the world, I think that's a really good start to next year, finishing the season in this way, if he can build on that going into next year. Debuting in the top 20 here. And Shevchenko, bit of an unknown quantity, I think, really. So I think that will, it's good to see him kind of making his way through, because I'm not going to lie, I don't know too much about Alexander Shevchenko.
He's in the top 50 now. He's going to finish the year at 49. I saw him play in Bostar. He's quite a fiery character on the court. And I think that's what makes him a bit of a fan favourite for some people, because he definitely wears his heart on his sleeve, let's put it that way. So I'm sure this is a great result for him. And why not, put him in the final, in the mix for some of these lower titles, because he is kind of the next generation of Russian tennis.
Did we notice that in the Metz tournament, in the quarterfinals, we had the same nation play each other in each of the quarterfinals. We had
wow.
Fognini Sonigo, all Italian, Humbert Mayo, all French, Shevchenko Kachanov, all Russian, and then Van Asch Herbert, all French.
Oh, I
Has
did
that
not
happened
notice
before,
that,
Joel?
Joel.
Did you notice that just now?
No, I was reading it earlier on in the week, and it doesn't. I don't feel like that happens too much nowadays on the tour. I think it happened more like back in the day, like at the Australian Open when it was just basically Australians that played it, or on the Challenger circuit, perhaps in America or South America, where it's just loaded with, Americans or Brazilians
Home
or
countries.
Argentinians. Yeah, exactly. But on the ATP circuit, I don't think that happens too often. I mean, one of the reasons it did happen was Stan Wawrinka suffered a really nasty looking injury, I think, to his ankle against Van Asch. So we wish him all the best. But pretty interesting how it always kind of turns out. I feel like you can always guarantee, though, a French winner in a French tournament.
Yeah, I mean, talking of home nations, though, obviously Draper getting to that final in Sofia. He was actually, I think, the youngest British person, or British man, I should say, to reach a tour final since Andy Murray did it back in 2009 at the same age. Murray, some news on him. He is split from Ivan Lendl for a third time. Is that right, Joel? Yeah. But what's the reason behind this one, behind this third time split?
I think it's just it's just the right time. I think it looks like Andy Murray, he's continuing next season. We've already seen him announced, for a tournament down under. So he is soldiering on, but you feel like this is the time where it's not been as fruitful and as successful this time round. And for Andy Murray, I think we've seen him cut a frustrated figure more often than not when he stepped onto the court over the last few months on the tour, and something's not working there, and it's time to move on. I don't know if this means that he'll get another coach in, or he'll rely on who he's got in his camp still at the moment. But I guess it's a little bit sad, a little bit kind of nostalgic, given all the achievements that they've shared together. It's just unfortunate, I think, with this third entry into their partnership, it couldn't have been as fruitful maybe as they had hoped.
And British tennis, Joel, you were at the Billie Jean King Cup tie between Great Britain and Sweden, the playoffs at the Copper Box in London. Some of our listeners will have been there as well. How was your experience? What did you think of Team GB? We got the job done, three rubbers to one after losing that opener. What did you make of the team's performance?
Yeah, it was. We got off to a bit of a shaky start, I think, with Jodie Burridge on debut. It was just fascinating. She spoke about in press conference the fact that this was playing for her team and not playing as an individual on the tour, and it's just a completely different kettle of fish. I know we spoke, Chris, about the fact that just rankings go out the window in Billie Jean King Cup. We saw that with Canada, at the very top level, and we saw that in the GB versus Sweden tie. But Bolter, she's the bedrock of the team. She had no trouble with her opponents, and there was a part of me that does wonder what would have happened if Bjorklund and Peterson had played, because I think Sweden came to play. They were no pushovers, and although GB got the job done, I think there's certainly going to be harder opponents to come. I think the qualifiers are next April. But yeah, it was a fun couple of days out. I'm not going to lie, me included, some of the press, we were watching the Jack Draper ATP final as well. So
a multiple screen experience there. Joel, welcome to the club. I love doing that. I'm watching a Challenger at the moment, an ITF somewhere.
Yeah, so it was a little bit like, let's watch this in the press room, let's go up and watch some live tennis as well. So it was a good experience overall, and it was great also to see jam-packed crowd both days, 5,000 plus in watching some live tennis in the UK.
Yeah, fantastic. Well done, Team GB. At least we kind of live to fight on in the top tier, so that's great. And we're going to take a very quick break now, but do join us in the second half, where we'll be discussing the WTA Tour calendar for 2024, new rules for this year's Next Gen Finals, and you'll also be able to hear our interview with super coach and UTS Mastermind Patrick Mouratoglou ahead of the Grand Final in London in December. So do not go anywhere.
This podcast is brought to you in partnership with UTS.
And Tennis Weekly is proud to be the official podcast of the UTS Grand Final in London.
UTS is the world's newest, most exciting, innovative tennis league, playing an entirely reinvented game format that does away with traditional tennis rules.
And the UTS Grand Final is coming to London's XL Arena from the 15th to the 17th of December.
The Grand Final features the players who have won the UTS events from around the globe, guaranteeing the best of the best will be competing for the title in London.
Already confirmed are top players such as Andrei Rublev,
Gael the Monfils,
Casper the Iceman Rude,
with more players to be announced, including a local wildcard.
So if you are looking for the ultimate day out in London in the run-up to Christmas, then secure your tickets to the UTS Grand Final now.
Session passes start from £31 and day passes from just £51 for a guaranteed 6 matches.
Go to www.uts.live for more information or use the link in the description to purchase your tickets now.
We look forward to seeing you there.
Welcome back to the Tennis Weekly podcast, brought to you by the UTS Grand Final. And now we're going to move on to par for the courts, I think, which Chris has prepared nicely for myself, Joel, and our listeners. What have you got for us this week, Chris?
Well, I thought, let's do a team competition. Joel is, he is probably the number one fan of the Billie Jean King Cup at this point.
Absolutely.
Missing the Seville edition.
I had sleepless nights, Chris.
Yeah, because you had to choose Malaga because the Brits were there. But some of your favourite moments have been watching some of the late night doubles in a dead rubber at the Billie Jean King Cup. So I thought,
I still say genuinely some of my favourite experiences of the podcast are me and you. When we went to Prague and Timea Bashinsky walked past us down the street. And we watched doubles past midnight with about 3 other people.
Use that knowledge.
Timea Bashinsky walking past you on the street.
That was honestly
genuinely happened.
One of the craziest things.
That doesn't take you a lot to please Joel, then, does it?
Well, it was where we were staying, and I walked out the door and I said that was Timea Bashinsky, and Joel was like, you know what, it was, and we just thought we're in it, We're surrounded by the Billie Jean King Cup, so we didn't chase her down the street, but you can use that knowledge.
The only annoying thing was it sort of dawned on us like 20 seconds after she had walked past us.
It was a bit late, but I was like, I know that face, but she was there supporting Switzerland that year, and she did a great job. But we can talk about Timea Bashinsky forever. I'd happily talk about some of her semi-final finish at Roland Garros, but we are going to be looking at which nations have won the Billie Jean King Cup. There are 13 nations that have won it, and I would like you to do a back and forth where you have to each give a name, and then the rules are, which we were told by a listener, that if someone gets one wrong, the next person has to get it right to really put the nail in the coffin. So we're doing a back and forth, and I can give if we need a little bit of help, I can give you a few clues if we start to get a little bit stuck. But I think you'll do better than you think you will. Canada was the 13th, so I'm looking for 12 names, because whoever goes first, that's too much of an advantage to say Canada.
And this is obviously Fed Cup, Billie Jean King
yes.
Name.
It's not since it started 2 years ago.
Okay.
That had not been 13
I was like,
that would be impossible.
Yeah, it's a bit like a TV show where there's 15 series in 1 year. No. This is from 1963 to 2022.
Wow. Only 13 winners since 1963. Okay.
Yeah, it's a tricky
Domination. Okay. Who's starting off then? Joel?
Joel, you can start because you're so passionate about the BJK Cup.
United States of America.
That is correct. They've won it 18 times, most recently in 2017.
France.
Another correct answer. They've won it 3 times.
Russia.
RTF, formerly the Soviet Union, and Russia have won it 5 times.
Australia.
Oh, I was going to say Australia.
That's a very good answer. They actually won it 7 times between 1964 and 1974. A real domination there.
Surely Czech Republic.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
The Czech Republic, formerly Czechoslovakia, have won it 11 times.
Switzerland.
Switzerland have won it once. They won it last year.
Ooh.
This is getting tough now.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say Switzerland. I'm going to say... Oh, we haven't said Spain, have we?
We have not said Spain. Would you like to say Spain?
I'm going for Spain.
That's a fantastic answer. They won it 5 times in the 90s.
Well done. I'm going to go
Carlos
with...
Suarez Navarro retired there in
Yeah,
front
she
of like
did,
5
yeah.
people with video.
But Kim, you didn't say Spain. Do you feel like you dropped the ball
Well,
there?
Yeah, maybe I was just going for more recent years, I suppose.
Yes.
How about Germany? Because surely Steffi Graf would have taken her team to a title.
Germany were taken to 2 titles with Steffi Graf.
Oh, I was going to say Germany. That is annoying.
This is getting very tricky.
So we're equal. We're still equal at the moment. I'm going to go with...
4 names left, I think.
Ooh, 4 names. I'm not confident in this answer, and I don't know. I just don't know if they would have done it, but I feel like they've got enough people, enough players, enough pedigree. Italy.
Italy is a correct answer. They won it 4 times in 2006, 2009, 2010 and 2013.
Wow.
So they also had a period of domination. So Kim, to stay in it, it's getting tough now. And I can tell you, if it makes you feel better, that all of the nations left have only won it once. So this is...
Okay.
And
got
I think
all the
I've got
big
another
ones.
answer, Kim. I think I've got another answer.
Don't listen to
I've
him,
got
Kim.
2 that I'm debating
Oh,
between.
okay.
You normally go for the wrong one at this point, Kim.
I just suddenly thought of another one. Oh gosh. I mean, I don't want to say this because I feel like I should know if this is true or not. But Great Britain, have we won it ever? Once?
I have to tell you that's an incorrect answer.
Oh, no.
Yes.
But it's nice that you believe in our Billie Jean King Cup team
I thought
so
we
much.
might have done it once, like back
in the
day.
Sue Barker, Virginia Wade
Basically.
years. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see that. Well, why didn't we win it? It feels like we should have. But Joel, would you like to really cement this win in one of your best performances?
Surely Belgium won it with Justine Henin and Kim
Oh, see, that's the other
Clijsters.
one I was going for.
Surely.
They did. They won it
Yeah.
once
Yeah.
in 2001. Oh, this has been
I
a
was
decimation,
debating with
Kim.
them, yeah.
Do you have either
Yes.
of the other 2? They're tough. They're not.
Argentina with
Mexico?
Sabatini.
I have to say both of those are incorrect, so it would have ended pretty quickly. The final answers were South Africa, who won it in 1972,
Wow.
and Slovakia, who won it in 2002. So,
Oh,
Okay.
Daniela Hantakova.
yeah, she did indeed. She's really, I mean, what hasn't she done on a
Is
tennis
that
court?
Dominika Sibulkova as well? Is that
Yes,
Slovakia?
she is Slovakia.
Yeah.
I think that might have been a little bit
Was
before
that a bit too
Sibulkova's
early?
time,
Okay.
potentially.
Okay. I just
check,
wanted to
I
try
can
and
check,
flex
but-
my Slovakian women's tennis knowledge.
I mean, maybe she was a junior playing in that team at the time. That's what I think is most likely. But Joel, the king, or the queen, I should say, of the Billie Jean King Cup, the only person who is more prominent at the Billie Jean King Cup is Billie Jean King herself at this point. So well done, Joel.
I'm going to bask in that for the rest of the week, Kim.
We shouldn't
I know you were
quiz you
gloating
again.
about Canada and your predictions, but it's now my time for gloating.
My naive hope that Britain had won the Fed Cup.
Yeah.
That's a
back in the
nice way
day.
to go out, though, you know, believing in
It
your
is, isn't
nation.
it? Oh, I'm so kind. Anyway, let's thank you very much. Well done, Joel. Listeners, let us know how you got on with that. We're going to dip into the mailbag for this week because we had an email from Dominic. Thank you very much, Dominic, who said, "Hello, Tennis Weekly. The new rules for this year's Next Gen Finals have been announced. Which one are you most looking forward to seeing?" So we have had a list of rules that have been announced for the Next Gen Finals. They're always at the sort of heart of innovation on the tour. I mean, there's quite a lot, to be fair, to go through them. So maybe Chris, Joel, do you want to pick out which rule is your favourite? What are you most looking forward to seeing out of the many that have been announced?
I am most looking forward to, I think it's got to be no on-court warm-up. I think I think we've just seen on the tour this season just how long a tennis schedule can go. Paris Masters, case in point, and I think they should always be looking at things that can help, cut down on time on court. And I think if you're putting 6 matches on an indoor court a day, well, you could get rid of potentially of 6 warm-ups. So I quite like that they're bringing that in, and the fact that matches will start immediately after the coin toss.
Goodness.
I just think you should be ready. I just think you should be ready when you step
Crowds
onto the
won't
court.
be ready for that, Joel. I mean, that's some of my favourite moments are when you're like, oh, they're warming up, we have time, we can get one more Pims.
No, I think it will make fans maybe even get there right for
surely
the
not
start.
the French crowd. If lunch is being served, it won't change anything.
Because at the moment, it's a little bit like going to the cinema, isn't it? When you see the time and you're like, oh, there's like 20 minutes of adverts, so we can turn up a little bit later.
I think it's to settle the nerves, isn't it? It's the main reason, because they've been warming up a couple of hours before. I think people don't realise that 3 minutes is not actually the warm-up that they have. So I quite like that, Joel. But for me, I think one that probably actually, I mean, I talk about Rafa quite a lot on this podcast, Kim, but Rafa would really suffer at this, because the max of 8 seconds between first and second serves. I mean, he is probably the top culprit for getting that first serve up in time for the shot clock, and then having a nice leisurely time before the second serve. So that's one that does kind of annoy me, because sometimes players do towel down between first and second serve, and I like the intensity of keeping the match going, keeping the flow going. So I would say that would be a fun one. But do tell us, there are many more, I believe, right?
There are. I mean, I quite like this one. The umpire's chair is going to be lowered to reduce the visual obstruction for fans in the arena.
Is it just going to be a chair? Is it just going to be a chair on the court in the middle?
That does sound like it's just like someone's brought in a wheelie office chair. Yeah. Goodness. Yeah.
Spinning round. Yeah, I mean, I think why is the chair up so high? I mean, could they knock off a foot or two, perhaps, generally
especially
speaking.
if it's electronic line calling. But I mean, that surely should mean that you don't have to see everything. You've just got to make some better decisions on court.
I mean, I will say, I feel like one criticism maybe of the Next Gen Finals is the fact that we hear all these rules, and how many actually make it, onto the ATP and WTA tour proper. The ones we've just spoken about, shot clock reductions, no on-court warm-up. Do you see either of those making, we will see actually, integrated on the tour? Or which one do you feel like is more likely, we could see potentially in the future?
No warm-up, I reckon. That's more likely, because I think policing...
Oh, do you think?
I think
I
policing...
think go for shot clock, yeah.
Oh, really? Because I think policing the shot clock is just impossible. And it does cause like a lot of issues, I think, in terms of different people have different rules. And I mean, if they can't manage to start the shot clock at the right time before a player's getting ready to serve, then how do you do it from the first and second serve? You feel like maybe it will make people get on with it a bit more, but at the same time, you will see a lot more double faults.
Yeah, and I guess, Joel, to your point that it doesn't always seem to transfer, I think some of the innovations they're doing for the next gen, they're doing a lot of sort of sports science based ones, so the players are wearing like these sort of wearable devices to track kind of biometric data, which is going to give like really good insight to their kind of physical performance, stress responses, and I think all of that probably goes
a bit like
elsewhere
cycling.
to like physios and those sorts of people who can use that data perhaps, and so perhaps it's not going to be like directly translated to what fans see, but other areas of tennis will benefit, and I think that's quite interesting.
Shot quality as well, Kim. Imagine you're on court at a change of ends and you find out your shot quality is really low.
1%.
Yeah, exactly. So I do think that the data side of things will only become bigger in the sport. I think all sport is becoming much more quantifiable in that sense, and I think that could be interesting. I think it'd be interesting watching players get that feedback, and it does actually lead quite nicely to, the interview that you did, Joel, where I think Patrick was talking about the idea of kind of getting more coaching, understanding more about how players respond to things, and it feels like it's kind of in that same vein.
Well, from one innovative event to another, I had an interview with Patrick Mouratoglou, who is the mastermind of the UTS concept Ultimate Tennis Showdown. The grand final is coming up in London at the XL Arena in mid-December. There's a link in our description for tickets. But yes, I did have an interview with him, and this is it now. Patrick, thank you so much for coming on to the Tennis Weekly podcast. We are very excited to have you on because it means we can talk about the UTS Grand Final coming up in London at the XL Arena in December. Now, for our listeners who don't know what UTS Ultimate Tennis Showdown is, in a nutshell, can you just describe it for them?
Absolutely. So UTS is tennis, but showed in a completely different way. Much more modern. Let's put it like this. If we had to create tennis today, what would it look like knowing what we know about how people consume in today's world? So it is basically 45 minutes matches. The time will decide the end of the matches. It's not the score, it's the time. We count the points very simply, like tie breaks. It's 4 times 8 minutes to be precise, but there is time in between, of course. It's short, as you can hear it, but it's also very dynamic. There is no downtime. Interview of the players at every changeover. There is a DJ during the match. In between every point, the coaches are able to coach their players between every point. The code of conduct is extremely light, so the players have much more room to express any kind of emotions. We want it to be really modern, exciting, like a great show where the players are able to show much more and be much more themselves. And the idea behind it is to make in 4 hours of time, instead of seeing 1.5 match, you can see 4 different matches, discover 8 players that you know already because it's only top players playing, and feel an incredibly exciting tennis that will also, and that's the goal, please the new generation. Because in today's world, the fans of tennis are the same fans that we had in the 70s and the 80s, and the young generation, okay, we'll go to the stadium, but don't follow tennis all year long. And that's the goal of UTS, to bring those people to tennis.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so interesting is that we've seen this season audiences and players, they love attending it. What do you think is the one thing that you think is so compelling that it really engages and entertains crowds who are coming in their droves, and also the players as well?
Yeah, so the first UTS we've done were Los Angeles and Frankfurt. We were sold out in both of them. So the crowd has loved it. We have incredible feedback. And the players too. Why? Because most of the players are young. They're between, let's say, 20 and 30 years old. So it's a young audience. They are representing a young audience. So they watch that type of content. They're on social media. They watch the streaming platforms. So they watch TV shows rather than movies. They're used to also short formats, dynamic formats, authenticity, all these things that tennis doesn't bring because it's, again, an old format. So they love it. And the fact that they're completely free, it's something that they've said to me many times. We feel free to be completely ourselves. This is something they love also. The prize money is great. I mean, there are only good reasons for them to play UTS, and they really enjoy, and they ask to play again when they participate, which is a very good sign.
And I've got to ask you about I think one of the things I love about UTS are the player nicknames. I feel like it's something the players love as well. Can you just give us an idea of where do those nicknames come from? Do they come from the players? Do they come from you? Is it a bit of both? Is it their marketing team? Where does it come from?
Well, I have a team who works on it, but my team works on it with the players, of course. We will not give a nickname to a player who doesn't like it. And sometimes the idea comes from the players. Sometimes some players have nicknames since they're young, and they either kept it and they want it to be their nickname, or they had nicknames and then it's not used anymore, but they remember their old nicknames and they like it and they want to put it back, or they have an idea. A lot of players have ideas actually about the nicknames they want.
I imagine there's quite a few that probably get discarded and you're like, that's the good one. That's the good one. I've got to ask, you've worked with a lot of players in your time, and this season you've worked with Coco Gauff. I would love to know what nickname would you give to Coco Gauff?
Wow. I mean, what stands out the most is her court coverage, how fast she is on the tennis court. I think she's the fastest of WTA by far on a tennis court. So something that has to do with who's so fast.
Like an Alex de Minaur, like a speed merchant type nickname.
Is there, maybe if there is a superhero who's crazy fast, that would be perfect for her. I'm not
the Flash. There we go.
The Flash, but this is masculine, so we have to find a girly way to the Flash, and
okay,
then
right. I love it already. And there's one other player I want to ask you what you think their nickname would be, and that is Iga Swiatek, year-end #1 ranking in the books in Cancun. What nickname would you give for Iga Swiatek if she played a UTS event?
To find her nickname, I would think, what do the players feel when they play her? And I think the players feel that she's a machine, that there is no way. It's like a machine that is impossible to make it fail. So a machine is not very positive. We have to find a better way to say that. That's literally the idea. Like she's going, and you can't stop her.
You can't stop her. I like it.
Unstoppable, maybe, or something.
I mean, already for the grand final, we've got Casper Ruud that's been announced. Andrew Rublev's going to be there. Gael Monfils. Are there any other players you can give us a sneak peek on who will be there? I've heard some rumors that might be a local player playing for the GB fans. Can you enlighten us? Yeah,
of course. We have great news for you. We have Holger Rune, who's not a local player, but he's going to play. And we have a guy that you probably know called Draper.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, he's going to play, and we're very excited to have him because he's the future of British tennis, but also potentially the future of men's tennis too. He has a huge potential. He's young. He has a very exciting game. He's great. He's a guy that people love in the UK, and he'll be the local superstar. So that's a great news for us and for him too, I guess. Yeah, and for the fans, we're very excited to see him. I feel like you just can't get enough Jack Draper, and he's going well in Sofia. I saw he beat Musetti, the top seed, the other day. So yeah, he seems to be in some good form. Your background, you're a super coach. You coach Serena Williams. You've coached lots and lots of top players. I'd love to hear from you. What's the one piece of advice you would give to aspiring tennis players, maybe at club level? What would you, if you were in a room with them, what would you say to them? Okay, there is one thing that is key for me, is the people that are around you, because you get advice every day. Their mindset is going to impact yours. So I would give that advice. Surround yourself with people who value you and who have a kind eye on you. Because if they don't have that, they're going to criticize you all day, every day. And we see that a lot. And this is going to affect you on the person as a person, and your confidence, and it's key for the future. So I think that's extremely important. I know it's in the cliches that a coach has to criticize. No, a coach has to value the people, value them, see what's great in them, and help them develop strength and their confidence. So the people that are around you are the key for your success. It is very important. Of course, when I say that, I'm a tennis coach. I play for myself, but it's true. It's really true. We've seen that a lot of times. And I've got two final questions for you. They're both related to what's going on at the moment on the tour. What's the one thing you would like to see change on the ATP and WTA tours in the future? I'm sure you probably got lots and lots of things going on in your head, but if there was one thing you would like to see change, what would it be? I mean, if I had one thing, it would be the coaching, of course. It's the only sport that is still resisting to coaching. So slowly coaching comes in a bit more during the matches, but I mean, it's so exciting to see, to hear a coach talk to his player, to hear an interaction, because the player also talks to the coach. It's so interesting in terms of understanding what it is about the performance. I think for the fans, it's incredible. And I think also it helps us discover the players better, because when they express themselves in moments of emotion, you get to know them better. So in all the other sports, coaching moments are sometimes the best moments of the matches. So and it's our job. Our job is to coach the players, and of course before the matches, but also during the matches. So we've went a long way. It's much better now. Now we're allowed to coach. But I would make it like something really important. I would mic up the coaches. I would leave them on the court, and I would like to hear all those interactions who are making the show so much more exciting.
And final question. This is just, I need 2 names from you. Who are your year-end number 1 singles ranking players on the ATP and WTA tours at the end of next season? I want 2 names, one on the ATP tour and one on the WTA tour.
End of 2024?
Yes. I know it's a very tough question, but it's one we ask. It's one we're asking our guests at the moment. I'm really curious to see who you're going to say.
Novak Djokovic, who I think is going to dominate next year again, and Coco Gauff.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I like it. Well, thank you so much, Patrick, for taking the time once again to come on to the Tennis Weekly podcast. It was an absolute pleasure. We're really, really excited to get down in person to see UTS at the Grand Final in London at the XL Arena in mid-December. So we're looking forward to that. And thanks again once more for coming on to the show.
Thank you very much for the invitation. See you very soon in London.
It's so interesting when I asked him about the year-end number 1 ranking for next season. He went with Novak Djokovic and Coco Gauff. I, for some reason, was expecting him to say Novak Djokovic and Iga Swiatek again. So, what did you guys make of that?
I mean, I wouldn't bet against Djokovic. I think that one's pretty much a dead cert. But I did notice, Joel, you did put him on the spot a lot. I mean, and then you agreed with what he said. I think you kind of had to with the super coach, because he does obviously know his stuff.
It's so hard not to. He was so nice and smiley, and I was like, yes, I agree. You are the oracle of tennis coaching.
This is going to be a nightmare for our predictions now. Joel is going to predict Djokovic and Coco Gauff for everything because Patrick told him that.
Well, Joel, great interview. You must have hit it off, because Patrick's very kindly given us a couple of tickets to give away. So as we are the official podcast of the UTS Grand Final in London, we are offering a lucky listener the chance to win a pair of tickets for the night session on Friday, the 15th of December at the XL Arena. Our lucky winner will also get a behind-the-scenes tour. And who knows, you may even bump into a player or two.
So how do you enter this competition? Well, for your chance to win, all you have to do is follow us on social media at Tennis Weekly Pod, like our competition post, and tag a friend that you would like to bring with you to the UTS Grand Final.
There is a maximum of 2 entries per person. It's 1 per social channel on Instagram and Twitter, and the competition closes on Thursday, the 23rd of November at midnight. The winners will be announced on our Davis Cup Finals podcast, recorded live from Malaga on the 24th of November. So listen in and find out if you're our lucky winner.
I'm excited already.
He might even bump into you, Joel, with the moustache.
I'll wear my white hat. Please come see us as well.
Definitely won't be bumping into Tamaya Bashinsky, though. But talking about WTA, let's move on, because UTS, we've got very much looking forward to that. So listeners, do get liking our post once it's up. Follow us on social media, tag a friend. We'd love to have you join us for the UTS Grand Final. But we're going to just have a look now at the WTA calendar for next year, because that has been announced. It's been unveiled. There's been some nice graphics out in the media, which details the dates and tournaments.
Nice graphics that don't include Elena Rybakina, I will just quickly add there.
Oh, okay.
Which some people are maybe reading into.
Some people, I mean,
given her battle, I think, with the WTA tour across the season.
Sabalenka still made it in, though. So
yeah. And Sakkari's there for the grass. Is
she is. That's a bit of an odd one, isn't it? But Beijing has nobody, so that definitely could have been Rybakina on that page of the calendar. Yeah. But
or a
What do
Chinese
we think
player.
about it?
I
The
mean,
calendar, Joel.
Wenjing.
I just think the WTA have actually got something right. I think they've got they've got on the front foot. I feel like they've always been playing catch up when it comes to events. We saw the mess that was the WTA Tour finals in Cancun. So to see them actually put out a full calendar right now before we're even getting into 2024, I think is a positive step. Yes, there are, I think, some eyebrow raising questions about the tour and the tournaments going on in that calendar, but I just think having released the calendar before the season starts is a good positive step.
Unprecedented from the WTA. Yes.
Exactly.
Normally we don't get a chance to kind of look ahead like this, but I mean, there are a couple of things I'm a little bit sad about. Iga Swiatek's father's tournament in Warsaw doesn't make it anymore, but maybe that's because of the 250 rules changing, and we do lose favourites like Cluj, unfortunately. But I mean, it is a full calendar, and there are definitely a few losses amongst that, but we are returning to Asia, and we still don't have a WTA Finals location for 2024. So
I think it's quite sad though. The Guadalajara has gone down from a 1,000 to a 500.
Is that sad though? Because last time it was Dollarhide Zachary in the final,
Yeah,
so I feel
okay.
like that was a
Yeah.
500 final.
Yeah, fair enough.
Maybe that's too harsh, but Kim, what event would you say you're most looking forward to? Is it one of the changes, such as San Diego being before the warm-up for Indian Wells? That's quite interesting.
Yeah, I suppose that does make geographical sense. I think there's other instances where geographical sense has not been followed, but yeah, I like the fact they've kept the Aussie kind of swing at the start of the year. I think having Adelaide and Hobart obviously makes sense. That you can't really fiddle around too much with that time of the year, can you? So it's good that they've kept that.
A lot of 2 weeks, Kim, as well. A lot of 2-week tournaments. Yeah, I've just noticed that.
Yeah. Obviously the grass court season remains intact, which is good. But yeah, I think there's issues. Obviously, I think making the season longer, they've not. There's only like 1 250 before like Roland Garros. There's multiple kind of issues with it, but I think the fact they've actually published it is a bonus, aside from the WTA final. So I think it's still progress, even though there's lots of things that a lot of fans are not happy about and players will be picking out.
I'm still not sure about playing 500s the week before Grand Slams, which they've got in place for all 4 Grand Slams. I always see that week as the week. Like, you don't want the top players playing that. You 250s, yes, but I'm not sure about 500s.
Yeah, I think it does cause a few problems, and it won't have the best lineup always. I think we've seen a lot of players withdraw, and I think that's the problem, because when they have their warm-up done, they're like, don't want to cause a problem going into a slam. So that is one where I wouldn't mind a 250, like a Strasbourg, before a French Open, a 250 week. Which I think works quite nicely, but Strasbourg's a 500 now, so I think we'll see how it pans out. But importantly, we have a calendar. The ladies know where they're going for the first time at the end of 2023.
Seems such a basic ask, doesn't it? But at least we've got it for this year. But let's look at what's happening this week on the tour, because we've got the ATP Tour Finals, obviously, in Turin. Today we've got Tsitsipas and Rune. Then Djokovic Sinner tonight, Alcaraz and Rublev tomorrow, and Medvedev Zverev. So yeah, still all to play for. Based on what we've seen in the opening match, are you still sticking with your predictions from last week? Are we still going Djokovic? Because I certainly am.
I think we might see Rune in the semi-finals. I think that match was very entertaining, and I wouldn't mind if they ended up in a bit of a funny turn, having 2 players from... Well, they played again. I quite like it when you get one of those strange things where you play twice in a tournament. That would be maybe my prediction, but I think Sinner's looking pretty good at the moment. So
I think Sinner's going to defeat Djokovic tonight.
Really?
I'm pushing the boat out of my predictions. I know I normally go safe, but that's my...
If this doesn't make it into the podcast, Joel, we'll know why when you're editing. Kim, come on, just put us out our misery. Who's winning?
Novak Djokovic. I mean, I'm going to go and, be very much Patrick Mouratoglou here. I think he's going to win this title. I think he's going to be year-end #1 next year. He's so hard to get
every
bet
record
against, so I'm
ever.
just going to stick with Djokovic. But every record ever he will get. But yeah, we'll be back next week to round up on what does happen the rest of the week in Turin.
Yes, listeners, I hope you've enjoyed our latest episode of the Tennis Weekly podcast. Remember to subscribe to us to stay up to date on all the action still to come from the ATP and WTA tours, with the Davis Cup finals still to come next week in Malaga.
We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all major podcasting platforms out there. And if you like what you're hearing, then make sure to leave us a rating and review on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
You can also follow us on social media or email the show. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and X. And the handle is Tennis Weekly Pod. So do make sure you check out our social channels, because we're posting the full video of the Patrick Mouratoglou interview with Joel. So if you'd like to see both of them hit it off, then you can watch that on all of our social channels. And also we'll have some clips. So do follow us, because we'll have some very exciting things coming from Malaga as well. You can also purchase Tennis Weekly merch, and that's at etsy.com/shop/tennisweeklypodcast. You can email the show at tennisweeklypod@gmail.com, or check out our website, tennisweekly.co.uk.
And we will be back next week at Tennis Weekly HQ for our next tour catch-up, our final tour catch-up of the season, brought to you by the UTS Grand Final. So I hope you can join us for that. But in the meantime, it's goodbye from Kim.
Goodbye.
It's goodbye from Chris.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. We'll see you again soon.